it's Justin here from AAP. Just to start off, what were your thoughts on the match tonight?
Just before I start, Justin, I just want to acknowledge the importance of the match for the Anzacs and the unfortunate circumstances that the Freo supporters and, more importantly, I guess our Kangaroo supporters in WA couldn't get to the Len Hall game today, the tribute match. So, we're feeling for everybody that's not able to be here, but particularly our Kangaroo fans. Just in relation to the game, mate, I thought we defended quite well and didn't take our opportunities when we went forward. So I think some bigger bodies around the stoppages at times, caused us some grief and we couldn't quite get the balance right. But I think overall we showed some good signs in our defence. And then, at certain times we weren't able to get our forwards to re-engage in our inside 50 quickly enough.
And when you see David Mundy and Nat Fyfe do what they do, especially in the first half there, how hard is that for you as a coach to try to stop them?
Yeah, well, it's hard. There's no doubt. It's we've got to readjust as we go. I thought likes of Tom Powell and Will Phillips and the like to play against those guys. Is quite difficult at times. But I thought our guys held their ground reasonably well. But yeah, they're solid, hardened AFL players, and it's difficult, for us to get on top of them at times.
Cool, thanks for that. I'll pass it on to someone else.
David, a couple of interviews pre-game suggested that the lockdown conditions didn't really impact the preparation of your team. So you must have been disappointed with the first 10 minutes of the game.
No, not necessarily. I mean, the first quarter ended up being 2-2 to 3-4. I thought the capacity for us to battle our way back into the game and wrestle some control of the game back in the second half was good. There's no doubt that Freo jumped and went hard early, which was something that we were expecting. But I think in some of our earlier games we haven't been able to sort of stem the flow at certain times, and I thought our guys adjusted reasonably well in that sense. So nothing that we didn't expect, but I'm not sure that we weren't out of the game a quarter time. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it was more that first 10 minutes that I was talking well behind in contested possession, and the effort that was coming seemed to be more from the Fremantle side is more where I was heading, not so much the whole first quarter, but the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, so what did you think of our first quarter overall after that?
Exactly like you said, I thought recovered well and fought your way back, but just the start of the game, I thought a bit down.
Yeah, it puts us on the back foot, doesn't it? There's no doubt that we can't keep coming from behind in that and giving teams an opportunity to sort of walk away and maintain the momentum. I think at times in that early part, I think we went a little bit slower in our back end. Freo's defence was really good, and we sort of tried to just control the ball a little bit, but we weren't able to get it through in that front half, and they were able to bounce really quickly and put some scoreboard pressure on us.
Yeah.
David, how are you making the effort for this start to the season and then into tonight? Because I imagine with your group, it's probably one of those things that you can always have as a non-negotiable.
Yeah, I thought our third quarter was poor. We weren't happy with a number of efforts in that coming into the back end of that second half, the second quarter as well, coming into half time. I think that's right. There's a level of expectation that we consistently talk about in regards to effort. The game doesn't really care how old you are or what team you put on the paddock. And so with that comes expectation that we need to step up and deliver in regards to effort and intensity. I thought we battled reasonably well in the last quarter. We had chances to score, played our forwards a bit higher up the ground, tried to densify the ground a little bit more and sort of there in our 2/3 of the ground. I think when you go across and you look, our front half possession gain scoring was reasonable, but we got a score differential in stoppages was poor, and I think that's where we need probably more effort and intensity around the competitiveness of our ball in stoppages.
Yeah. And how about as far as, I guess, acknowledgements for your team and checkpoints and I guess, measurements that you can reward them on. What are some of the things through the start of the season that you're acknowledging with them outside obviously the win-loss columns?
Yeah, well, we're trying to win as many quarters as we can. That's been one of the areas that we've tried to focus on. I think the other area too is the roles that we've been giving some of our younger guys. I thought Taron Thomas, in the midfield was really, I like some of his efforts in there, some of his speed in that sense. I think Steve-O, Jaden's hit the scoreboard again. I thought Jack Marnie probably had his best game for us for this year in that sense. And I think Tom Powell, shows some real class around the balls. The stoppages when he's able to get his hands on the ball from that side of things. So, look, it's a little bit often. We've just got to keep chipping away. We've got to have energy that remains within our group, from that side of things. And we've just got work in front of us to continue to learn how we need to play this game in order to be competitive and move up the ladder. That's the bottom line.
Thanks, David.
David, it's Roy from The Age here, mate. Just wondering, what's the path forward for the guys in terms of getting back to Melbourne, in terms of any delays or having to go into any self-quarantine or anything in the next day or two?
Not sure, Roy. The guys behind the scenes, Brady and Laura, have been doing some work with the AFL, so I didn't have a brief before the game. I sort of said I probably wasn't all that interested, to be honest, so we'll head back to the change rooms and probably get an update tonight. As far as I know, we're heading back to the hotel for dinner tonight.
And with Jai Simpkin in the first term, he had a little whack at one of the fellas. Was there some... and have you been sort of telling the guys to try and lift their physicality or try and boost each other up with some, physicality out there, or has he just made a bad spoil there?
No, I think our physicality's got to be geared at the ball, Roy. I think, they're certainly not an instruction from us to be out there to, if they look like, they're certainly not cheap shots, I don't think. It's not been an instruction from ours at all. Jai's a pretty strong ball player, competitive beast by nature. So I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and have a look at that. I didn't really take much notice. When you're in the box, there's a few things that sort of tend to move on pretty quick. But no, it's not been an instruction at all.
David, something tonight, you actually had more possession than Freo. I think it's the first time this season that you've finished positive in that count. Is that something positive you take out and you can work on pushing forward to Melbourne next week?
I think so, Brad. I think one of the things we're trying to get our guys to do at times is understand where the game is, and the fact that they're able to probably, slow the ball down a little bit, take a little bit more heat out of the game, a little bit more situational. We actually seem to be really well organised when we move the ball forward without being a little bit slower in the play. I think we end up with 9 inside 50 marks as well. And I think what that does also, mate, is it allows you to get your defence in shape, doesn't it? Playing a little bit more controlled. Early in the year when we went really quick, we got bounced really quickly and we were conceding a lot of turnover score against from the corridor. And I think once we've been able to do some more work on our defence, that lends itself to being a little bit more patient with the ball, and so therefore the possessions tend to increase a little bit. So, yeah, that was certainly something that we talked about in regards to Freo's shape of their defence, that we might be able to use that as an advantage at times. Just
looking forward to next week, if things don't pan out the way that they should, is the team looking forward going to Tassie? Would you be disappointed if you couldn't play there?
Yeah, extremely. Spirit Taz is a great supporter of ours, and down there, and so it would be extremely unfortunate if we weren't able to get down there. To not have fans here tonight, and then to not be able to have our fans from Tassie turn up next week. It'd be extremely disappointing. But look, we're in the hands of governments at the moment, and we've just got to follow the protocols, mate, according to what gets delivered.